Have you ever wondered what it's like to have two kids in the household? Maybe you're about to have a second, maybe you're thinking about having a second. Well, today I'm going to dive deep into this topic with my friend Powell. My name's Steven. Welcome to Two Dads, One Car, where we talk about modern fatherhood. I'm currently in Kits. I'm about to pick up my coworker Powell from a coffee shop nearby. It's a little rainy today. It's very quintessential Vancouver, but I'm excited to dive into this topic and jump into it with him. Powell's also turned my mind on some interesting travel hacks as a family. So we'll talk about that towards the end of the conversation, hopefully. And with that, we'll chat very soon. We'll have him in the car very shortly. Chat soon.
Yeah, my son is 4. He's in daycare. My daughter is 6, turning 7 in January, in grade 1. And I guess to give a quick snapshot, it's interesting to see, like, just early on how the kids fell into their sort of like stereotypical gender roles so quickly. My daughter, wanting to wear princess dresses and wear pink every day when she was very young. It was never anything that we sort of imposed or even sort of suggested to her in any way. And then on the other side, my son, constantly wanting to play with monster trucks and being captivated by garbage trucks, things like that. It's really fascinating because it's not something that, it was environmental by any way. It was just something that they just sort of, I guess, picked up, something in the back of their minds that was just sort of programmed within, which is really interesting to see as they develop.
I had the joy of meeting both your kids actually at one of our work events. So just for full disclosure, Powell is actually the first coworker I'm bringing on the podcast. So we are both at Rivian. And we're on the drive to work. So imagine this as your morning drive to the office, but in a podcast. But it's such a joy to have you. I'm sure he probably loves seeing the big cars that we have around us.
Yeah. They actually point them out every time they see them on the street, which is really fun. The headlights are so obvious, and it's a daddy work truck every time we see one cruising down the street, which is great. And thanks for the lift into work today. This is great. This is quite an elegant commute for me today.
Let's do it. As you know, one of the questions I like to start off with is, to you, what is like an unspoken truth about fatherhood? And again, it's something that's not as readily apparent or not as talked about enough, or maybe it could be shed light on even more. And so curious to get your take on that. And there's no right or wrong answer, but love to get your perspective.
Yeah. I think when we were having our second, like our daughter was very easy. In terms of, like, she was sleeping through the night, I think after like 4 or 5 months, relatively. She was just like a sort of a mild-mannered baby, and it was like honestly quite simple in a lot of ways. Getting through that first hurdle of initial parenthood. So we thought, getting into the second child, this is going to be, we know how to do this. There's 2 of us that we know what we're doing. We have everything in place. Like, we almost, I think, got a little bit too confident and thought that it was going to be too easy. Sort of to scare you, Stephen. I know you're expecting your second, but I think it was a little bit more challenging for our son, like to get him into like a sleep routine, and then also you don't have the ability to like take each other out if it's 2 parents and 1 child. You now have 2 children and 2 parents, so it's they're always on effectively, and navigating, if they have a cold that works its way through the family, things like that. There's it's a lot on a family. I don't know how people do 3 kids. That's that's when you have to outsource help, I think, at that point. But I think that was maybe one thing that really sticks out for us.
This is fun because I'm going to go deeper on this because, as the listeners know, I have a second incoming, and in November, which is very soon. And so I'm really excited to bring you on because you have 2, and I guess you've kind of gone past the initial craziness period. But like, what would you say? What were like the first? I don't know. What were the first 2-3 months like? Like, what should I be geared up to know that you think is like, I wish someone told me this a bit more?
Yeah, especially with the second. I mean, like I was saying, it's like you now have to. You can't just have that ability to tag out with and co-parent. Essentially, you have to have, like, in the back of your mind, of course, like, even as your daughter, I'm sure is a lot easier to manage now as she gets older. There still is that element, of course, like she still is going through a lot of development, a lot of emotions too. When the second child arrives, there might be some jealousy items that come up, and trying to balance that could be a bit of a challenge. But just finding the time, and hopefully you have like some friends or some people you can lean on within your circle to help out.
How did you navigate through that initial chaos?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, we don't have any family that's in town, and you know, it's difficult to lean on friends too heavily, I think, as well. I mean, you
Yeah.
might have friends that have kids that are the same age, and maybe you can meet up and hang out at a park, and the kids can hopefully play together at some point. But when the kids are really young and they're not really at that point where they're playing together just yet, or you know, in a baby carrier for those, you know, first year and a half, yeah, it can be a tricky one for sure. So I think you just have to really hopefully you have like some support within your family that you can call in from time to time, or try to be strategic and get some time out, you know, for each parent to have their own autonomy to some level as well. You know, not to lose yourself in parenthood too. I mean, that's another concern too, where you see people that go so far into it that I think they start to lose a sense of who they are. You know, it's like they forget about all their hobbies and interests, and they lose that sense of, you know, any sort of social life or any sort of hobbies they would have had previously. So yeah, it's always good to, when you can. I mean, obviously it's very tough early days, but yeah, to find those moments where you can break away. You know, maybe go for a walk, go for a coffee, meet up with a friend or something, and you know, maybe the other parent rolls up the sleeves a bit and takes over care for the two kids during those nap breaks.
It's such a good reminder, Powell, like the losing yourself moment. And I'm
Hmm.
sure the next follow-up question is like, okay, this sounds great, but I guess like when the other partner is like basically at their almost capacity limit to even propose stepping out for like a coffee or like a
Yeah,
workout.
it's a
Uh,
fine balance.
yeah.
Yeah.
How do we
There's
thread that needle?
yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, yeah, you'd almost have to, I guess, depending on, yeah, if one parent is more extroverted than the other, or one parent really needs to get, you know, that run in, you know, go for a run every few days or go to the gym, or like I have friends that play golf and they have young kids. I'm like, I can't even imagine how they would find the time to do that still. But yeah, yeah, I guess it's just a matter of yeah, different levels of acceptance between your partner and making sure that each one is represented, hopefully in like an equal way. But it's, yeah, again, it's difficult to manage if you don't have that outsource of support. Like a lot of people have like friends, or even better, like, you know, parents that are really active and really supportive and can help through a lot of child minding and I mean, almost like co-parenting in a sense in that way. But yeah, with parents that might live far away or aren't so involved, it can definitely be a challenge.
If I could zoom back, I mean, thanks for sharing on that, Powell. Definitely be leading on the friends and family of those who are listening. I'll be calling you. If we could take back 4 years ago, right? You know, your son was in your arms. What was going through your mind during those first couple of weeks?
Yeah,
If you could flash back to that moment, you're like, oh
yeah.
yeah, I've seen this before. It's like, wait a second, this looks different.
Yeah, you know, actually, I'll rewind it even a little bit further.
Please.
Yeah, so that when I first found out that we were having a girl, I come from a family of primarily boys. I have two brothers, and the idea of like having a girl in the family that early on was just like, oh wow, like I wasn't prepared to yeah, I wasn't even on my radar. I just thought like, oh, we're just having a boy, and then I was like, kind of like, you know, I think our teenagers flashed before my eyes, you know, in that initial moment with our midwife, and then, you know, fast forward a few years later when we found out we were having a boy for our second, I couldn't imagine anything other than having a girl. So it's kind of funny, like it just everything totally shifted. So yeah, it's I think quite honestly, it's like I wouldn't ask for it any different. I think it's an amazing experience. Having an older daughter who's going to be sort of like the big sister of the family, I think that's going to be really helpful for her growth, and to have my son to look up to her, I think is going to be really cool. And then I guess the second part of that is just having like the balance, you know, like, you know, the nuclear family, having you know, a daughter and a son. I mean, yeah, it's you know, having both sides of that perspective. Whereas, you know, a lot of families might have a group of boys or just a group of girls. I
Yeah.
think yeah, it's pretty remarkable to be able to have both sides of that. It's been really great.
How do you think you've changed since having a boy or having a second? Like, do you find that you've been like a lot more, I don't know, like much more patient, much more like strategic
Yeah,
with your time? Have you had to
yeah.
cut things out? Have you had to add new things in, habits wise? Curious to know,
I
like,
think your perspective on almost everything changes. I mean, without sounding too dramatic, I
no,
think
please,
it's
please,
like,
please.
yeah, when my especially well, when my first was born, when my daughter was born, it was like, for me personally, it was like, oh, this concept of a child is coming. You know, I knew that my wife was gonna have a baby, and you know, you prepare for it. You take all the prenatal classes, you get everything ready in the house. But it doesn't really, or for me anyway, it didn't really hit until it was like, oh, there's a baby in your lap, or like you see this baby on a table, and it's like something clicks in your brain, and you're like, wow, okay, like everything has changed. Everything I thought that was important even 5 minutes ago kind of isn't. Yeah, it's like this kind of profound switch goes off in your mind. Which is, yeah, I mean, it's difficult to describe unless you've experienced it, which I'm sure you'll agree with.
Even when your son was born, have you been like, okay, now I gotta really change my like start hours, my end times, like be mindful of, I don't know.
Yeah, pre-kids, I think it was like, oh yeah, like, you know, it's all about career, and you know, working late, working weekends, whatever you need to do to get things done. But then, yeah, once you have a child, it's like, yeah, okay, now I need to find like more, you know, live work balance. Maybe I'll get paid a little bit less, but you know, like I'll have this, you know, more manageable 9 to 5, being able to leave your work at home and being able to focus more time on your family. And then I think another piece of it, this is like a bit more profound maybe, is I think like the way that you like even go through life is a little bit different too, right? I mean, I think you have a lot more empathy when you have a child. It's like you just have this idea that you know, everyone around you was a child at some point, you know, like they have parents or they had parents at some point, you know, like it's, you just have a different perspective of things without getting too sociological on it. But yeah, it's a really interesting sort of journey for sure. And I think, yeah, definitely like the way that you even approach situations and kind of view the world, I think changes quite a bit.
It's true, where you touching about what you just said earlier about that common humanity, where like, yeah, we were all kids at some point, and where many of us are raising kids as well and going through the same kind of challenges or same struggles or same problems, right? With navigating, okay, I gotta get out of the house by this time to get to the office by a 9 o'clock call, right? And etc. Like, this is just chaos at home, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, wait, others have gone through or are going through it as well. It probably gives you this additional sense of like, okay, there's some commonality here.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's so true. I've even heard like stories of friends that maybe like their boss or manager doesn't have kids, and then when they do have kids, a lot of things change like in their workplace, because like now it's like your manager isn't calling you at 6 p.m. saying, hey, I need this thing on my desk tomorrow at 9 a.m. Because they realize like that's just not possible. Like there's just no way that you can do that. And like, yeah, during COVID, I mean, it was like pretty chaotic, right? I guess, was your daughter born during COVID?
It was right at the tail end, but yes.
Right at the tail end, yeah. So my daughter was 1 when COVID first hit, and we're just like, oh wow, like, you know, like working from home with a 1-year-old, and oh yeah, it was incredibly challenging. And then meanwhile, you know, it's supposed to be getting work done, and you know, without any resources or even like a separation of your personal life and your family life, it was that was an interesting time. But
if I could, no, thanks for sharing that, Powell. And absolutely resonates, like crazy times during that period. If I could pivot back to an earlier topic, because you talked about gender roles, you talked about like how, like, wow, your son's really into the trucks, your daughter is like more into maybe the dressing up or like the other aspects. What have you found in terms of like interest? Like, how do you foster interest in your children? Like, have you been intentional about that, like, and stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, once we realize like what they're into, I think we've tried to like, I guess, curate like, you know, these school, or what should I say, like the classes and things like that we would take. So like putting my son into like a soccer camp that we do on Saturdays in the West End during the winter months, which is like an indoor soccer platform, which is really great. I mean, he's been loving that. Most days, I mean, some days he doesn't really want to participate. I mean, still being very young. Like we had him in that when he was 3, so maybe a little young for him to have the attention span to want to learn how to play soccer. And then my daughter, we have her in a lot of like song and dance, like drama, dancing, Highland dancing. She's doing right now.
Oh wow!
Another one that is actually really interesting. It's like I guess it's just like a performance arts course as well. So it's dancing, singing, acting, like the whole bit. So it's been really fun for her. She's been loving that. But yeah, I think just finding those things that your kids are interested in. Like, I mean, you hear stories all the time where it's like, you know, a parent wants to get their kid into piano or something, but they have no interest. And then it's like, I mean, you're almost like creating long-term trauma with the kids if you're trying to force them into something that they don't want to be doing. So yeah, I would just lean into whatever thing that they might like, and try things, maybe like work outside of their comfort zone a little bit, but I guess know when to stop is a good one too. You hear stories about parents wanting to make their kids future NHL players or something like that, and it's like, sometimes it's not in the cards. You just have to embrace what they're into.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's such a interesting topic, right? When it comes to activities, because there's so many different schools of thought on that. I mean, similar with technology, similar with like sleep thing. But I'm sure there is like a nuanced path to that. I think part of what you said about like, okay, if that's what they're interested in, let's just see where this goes, right?
Yeah.
Recently, actually, in recent months, I was definitely delayed in this thinking, but like realized that my daughter's really into arts and crafts.
Oh, nice.
And so I'm like, wait a second. I remember someone talked to me about this on a show. Let me try this. And so we've just been going to the dollar store to buy just like very simple, like,
yeah. Oh, that's
glue
amazing.
sticks.
Yeah.
And she's so into it where like she doesn't even watch TV anymore. Like she's like really just into creating.
Oh, that's amazing.
Like Valentine's Day cards. She made me a card this morning. Just like
cool.
adding these things, just comes to my room, just drops things off and drawing. And so I'm like, oh, maybe it's not the television, right? Like maybe like if these are things that they're keen on, let's like dive into that.
Oh man, lean into that. That's great. Because yeah, I mean, like the creativity aspect of that. I mean, like whatever you're doing on an iPad will never compare. I mean, unless they're somehow using some crazy Photoshop or something on their iPad, which generally they're not. I mean, quite honestly, we do use our iPads, from time to time, as kind of like a chill out tool or like a distraction tool if we really need to get something done. If it's like we're home alone and have to make dinner, or there's some other thing going on that we just need to have a bit of downtime for the kids. We will rely on that, but yeah, that's the dream. If you can just put them in front of like a craft table and let them color and be creative, or it sounds like that's a great path for her. And and also I think adding a lot of future skill. Maybe she'll be an artist, maybe she'll be a craft designer, maybe or a creative director. Like so many cool things that they could turn from that.
Exactly, and it's it's something that I originally like struggled with. I'm like, oh man, how do I occupy this time, or like what do I kind of do? But I think that's a good reminder, right? As we kind of go through. I probably see you as like the quintessential Vancouverite kind of dad. Like you also have like a cargo bike and
the dad wagon.
What is the weekends? What do the weekends look like for you? Like during like more of a summer day. Today's
a bit
of a rainfall, so you might hear a bit of windshield wiper sounds. But hey, that's part of the experience.
Yeah, definitely. I'm more of a fair weather rider. I'm not the guy wearing the rain suit commuting, in 2-degree rain weather. It's generally on the nicer days I'll take the kids out on the wagon, and they've been loving it. I got the wagon last year, which has been really fun. Highly recommend if anyone's thinking about it. It's like having a second car without all the baggage. It's been great. I mean, I'm trying to think, on a nice summer day, we would just probably hit up a park somewhere, maybe take the bike if we can. We live in Kits, so I mean, we're relatively close to the beaches, which is great. And the kids are just happy going to any park in town, and we just sort of like throw out 3 options and head to it. And then I'm trying to think what else we would do typically on a weekend day. Maybe meet some friends or have some friends over for dinner if we can. Pretty low key. I mean, we're still kind of in that mode, having a 4-year-old at home. We're still doing early bedtimes. We're not really getting too crazy with, we do have a pretty regimented, nap schedule and bedtime schedule. I shouldn't say nap schedule. We're off the naps, but bedtime is pretty set at 7:30, 8 o'clock is when we're like really winding down and getting the kids to bed so they get that full sleep.
I guess for the parents who have kids who are like in your situation, right? They're either both in school or preschool. What does this chapter look like for you? Of fatherhood look like for you?
Yeah, I think in some ways it feels like the light is at the end of the tunnel a bit. It's like we can start having like we haven't gone on like a proper vacation like somewhere cultural in a long time, like since we've had kids, just because you take a 2-year-old to Portugal, you're probably not going to be able to experience too much because you're on that set schedule, you're still on a napping schedule. But I think maybe like this summer we're hoping to maybe get some of that back, maybe head to I mean, this is just thinking out loud. I'm not sure if it's even realistic, but maybe heading to Europe this summer. or doing something that's I guess less just resorty or like find a beach somewhere. We've been going to Hawaii the last few years. I mean, Hawaii is amazing.
Yeah.
You can just find a piece of beach and just hang out, and that's exactly what the kids want to be doing over spring break. So it's been really great doing that. But hopefully something a bit more cultural and also, I mean, a part of that is having the kids experience that and really see the value of that as they get older. You know, being able to go to a medieval town in Europe or something, and the kids just being really captivated by that, I think is going to be an amazing experience.
I think that's true, right? Especially if your kids are like 7 and 6, or 7 and 4-ish, right? They're at the place where they recognize, and especially being in a castle, they're like, oh wow, I feel like a prince or a princess.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like the Knights of the Round Table.
Oh yeah.
I do want to give you a shout out because you're the one who turned my eye to this platform called Home Exchange.
Yeah.
And I know you and your wife are major users of Home Exchange. You probably had many exchanges, but like, what have you really enjoyed about that?
Yes. Okay. So without this turning into a full infomercial for Home Exchange,
you can sponsor me after Home Exchange.
share your referral link after the podcast. It's honestly, I mean, without sounding too dramatic, it's been like life-changing for us.
Yes,
Like
it's like a good
we've
dad hack
literally
here.
traveled to, places throughout the Lower Mainland, to the U.S., like to Seattle area. We've gone to the islands several times now. We've gone to Hawaii. This will be our 3rd trip using Home Exchange going to Hawaii, which I mean effectively isn't costing us anything in terms of accommodation. We just pay for flights and food, which isn't too outlandish. Whereas the I find now, I mean, with Airbnb and things like that, the cost of accommodation and the strength of our dollar has played into that a lot as well. It makes it so that maybe before you were doing like one vacation a year and you're struggling to even justify the cost of that. I mean, now we're like every long weekend we're just like, oh hey, let's go to Bowen Island, let's go to Whistler, let's go to Bellingham, like anywhere you like, and then maybe some larger trips too. I mean, it's a really popular app across Europe as well, which we haven't really accessed yet, but we get a lot of requests. A lot of people want to come to Vancouver in the summer. Yeah. So you'll get a lot of people requesting stays, which is really cool. People from all over the world. I mean, we get messages like, hey, do you want to come to Helsinki and do a home exchange? Or like, I never thought about it, but yeah, that'd be really cool to check things out. And it kind of opens your eyes to a lot of places that maybe you never really even thought about traveling to. So really hoping to lean into that and utilize that, and I guess leverage the property that we have and make travel a lot more accessible.
Well, that's the dad hack right there.
It is, ultimate dad hack.
A past guest, Bryce Leung, him and his wife utilize Home Exchange a lot, and so they're able to travel the world with paying next to nothing. Actually, they were just in Switzerland actually.
Oh wow!
So it's kind of wild. I'll drop a referral link. I'll get Home Exchange to sponsor me next time around. But as we round the corner and head into the office. What is something that you're looking forward to in this next chapter of fatherhood for you? Right, in this upcoming chapter, what is something you're like excited about in terms of this next phase? I'm about to enter the phase of having two. Still in the early stages, but curious to know for you, like, what is this next?
Chapter. Interesting with your situation, because I mean, you're almost like, I always say this is my analogy. It's like you're hitting the reset button. Every time you have another kid, you're like kind of rolling everything back. You're back to diapers, you're back to change tables, you're back to, the naps and everything else. But at the same time, like, enjoy it. Like, I mean, there's just such an incredible journey that you get to experience all over again. So, I mean, not to,
Thank you.
sound like it's a negative thing, but it's definitely hitting the reset button again. I think that we're getting to a point now where, I think we're about to unlock a lot of things that, like, once you have those kids that kind of reach a certain level, like maybe 5, 6 years old, they can you really start to see like them, I guess, kind of being more involved in their environment around them, having more questions and are fascinated with different things. So, I mean, like unlocking travel, having those like, existential conversations with, a 6-year-old. I mean, it's just like, it's wild. Like some of the things that you'll be able to do and, like just to see more of their personalities develop and come out. I think, it is a huge part of that. And, it's just exciting to see. I mean, every day, there's always something. I'd say like every single day, there's like something that you will just kind of like pick up and just kind of like, just kind of laugh to yourself that, or just be like intrigued by like just the development of your child from day to day, which is just so cool to see.
Yeah, it is cool to see, and I'm really happy to hear that. And also appreciate the reminder of that reset button, right? In the sense where um, I do get to re-experience what it's like to have a little one in my arms who's,
Yeah,
not talking
yeah,
about like, oh, I don't want to get up for preschool, but like just there, right? And
yeah.
just really to re-experience, because I think it's for us, it's like second and done. Like that's it. So like,
Yeah. So yeah, enjoy every minute of it, honestly. Because I mean, you look back at photos, I'm sure, of your daughter, and I did with my kids too, when they were like a little baby, and you're just like, oh wow, that's like hard to believe, and that was only like 3-4 years ago in some cases, and it's just like incredible the development. And then maybe those times are really tough, and maybe in the moment you were like, I didn't have any sleep, and I had no life, and all these other things. But at the same time too, there's like this nostalgic like connection that you'll have with that. Yeah, it's we'll miss it. I think, I don't know if your parents are the same way, but my dad will always say like, oh, enjoy these times, like you'll miss it one day. You'll look back and it'll be something that you really wish you still had, like having those young kids in the house, and especially in moments of like frustration, try to go for a family dinner or something and it just totally goes off the rails. But yeah, there's moments that we'll be looking back, sitting on our porch with our grandkids, probably wondering wondering where time is all gone. But yeah, wow, it's an exciting journey.
that's such a thank you, Paul. That's a good reset moment, because part of leading into this conversation, leading into next month, was definitely a sense of anxiety, some fears, like, oh my gosh, here we go again. But I think that frames like, this is gonna be the last time I get to experience this again, right? And having that reset and just really like, okay, I get that second chance, right? I get that
Yeah,
second chance to go through this, and I
yeah,
get to, because again, this is gonna be just like fully cherishing that time.
yeah,
With the second one, it's gonna be really exciting.
yeah,
So
yeah. And I think too, like, I mean, being your second time around, maybe you're gonna like probably focus on maybe different things. Or maybe you thought that you didn't need to take as much time off last time. Maybe you'll take a little bit more, or maybe focus on certain elements that maybe might have passed you by too quickly, which is
yes,
really cool to have that. So you do kind of know what you're doing. You know what you're getting into a little bit, but at the same time, well, I shouldn't say a little bit, a
no,
lot. Yeah, you know what's going on. But yeah, it's just gonna be another level of experience, and having your daughter, have a little sibling. I mean, that's gonna be so much fun too.
hmm
Hmm.
this is awesome. Powell, thank you for joining in on Two Dads One Car. Thank you for being a guest. Thank you for being open to the ride to the office here.
Yeah,
It
thanks
was
for having
such
me.
a joy to have you on the show. And we'll do a debrief after this with the audience and with the listeners. But thank you for joining
Yeah,
in, Awesome.
thanks so much.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
appreciate that.
All right,
Thanks,
we'll
Steven.
chat soon. All right, that's a wrap. Thank you, Powell, so much for joining us on Two Dads One Car. It was so fun to chat with Powell. He's my first coworker that I had on the show. And I think because I have my second incoming, I just really want to use the time to really dig into that and get his perspective. And I loved what he said at the very end about that reset moment. That really shifted my perspective. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate you as well for listening in on the show. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on YouTube. And if you have a friend who is about to have a second or new dad, or any dad who could benefit from this episode and more, please share it. That's how we grow the podcast even more. And so with that, thank you all for listening in. I appreciate all of you, and have a great morning, have a great day, and have a great night. Cheers. Bye.